You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
Hey, it's Friday, and we've been saying for a while now, turn on your notifications, subscribe, because you never know when we're going live. There was no pre-warning, but we're live. We're here to discuss the Miami Dolphins as always. This week we're looking at this week we're looking at rankings. Where do the Miami Dolphins rank in terms of the 32 teams in the NFL? But before we delve into that, Mr. Charlie Touche, how about you?
I'm cooling. Kadeem, you a funny guy, man. It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast, Dolphins all day. Kadeem, bro, let the people know. Shout out to the subscribers, the people who got their notifications turned on, that we snuck in live just now, and everybody's here for it. IMAX said, yo, right on time. You know what I'm saying? So, Kadeem, you were in my phone, and we were going to record today, right? We were actually going to record yesterday. And, you know, it's football season and waiting on football season, and we have real lives. So we decided to go today, and you asked me on my phone if we were going live. And what I say, Kadeem?
You said, yeah, that's fine.
Would you like to tell the people what happened when we came on air like 2 minutes before we went live?
So, yes, that was on me. You said, yeah, that's fine. I didn't set the live up. So yeah, I apologize. But, you know, quick little move things around, and it was sorted. No one knew that we weren't in the live stream. It was in a pre-recorded stream. But you had to tell everyone that. So thanks for that. Thanks for airing out our dirty laundry in front of everyone. Thanks for letting everyone know that I'm not perfect, because all they knew was that, hey, these guys are live. That's cool. Yeah, once again, shout out to those with the notification turned on. Just a random notification on a Friday night. Hey, these guys are live. Gotta love it.
My bad, Kadeem, but the people had to know. I'm just saying.
No worries. Yeah, shout out to IMAX in the comments. Shout out to Robert. Shout out to the almighty Marv. What's good, family? Training camp is almost here. Listen, training camp is almost here. Cannot wait. Can't wait to see what this team looks like on the field. Can't wait to see what this Miami Dolphins defense looks like under Vic Fangio. Can't wait to see what Tua looks like in his second year under Mike McDaniel. There's so much, and we will delve into all of that, be it live, be it pre-recorded. You know, there's a lot of content coming out over the next few months as we gear up to the Dolphins Super Bowl run.
Bro, the Dolphins are in the toughest conference in the AFC. AFC is way better than the NFC. I think we all know that. Not only are they in the toughest conference, they're in the toughest division of the toughest conference. Shout out to Hannah Montana. The people had to know. Because if correct me if I'm wrong, Kadeem, Hannah Montana and Charlie Touche was on the same page. Kadeem was MIA. But that's all I'm saying.
I was in Miami.
Missing in action. You were missing in action.
Oh, okay. Just like you said MIA, you know, like Miami has it MIA at the beginning. So.
I hear you. So the Dolphins are in the toughest division, in the toughest conference, and we decided it's post-draft, and it's time for power rankings. Like, yo, let's see where these teams stack up, where the Miami Dolphins stack up against the rest of the division and the rest of the conference and the rest of the NFL. So I'm gonna tell you this, Kadeem. I was a little unsatisfied. I don't want to say disappointed, but I was not satisfied in this offseason when free agency passed and the draft passed, and we did not improve on O-line. The Dolphins had the 24th rank O-line when it came to pass block win rate last season. 24th rank. And if you date that back to 2020, which is Tua's rookie year, we have the third worst pass block win rate in the league, Craig. The world, Craig, since 2020. And that tells you how bad our pass block win rate was in the past 2 seasons. So the fact that it only improved to 24 instead of 32 twice, what does that tell you, right? So before we get into these power rankings, a lot of people want to know, bro, is the line going to be able to hold up even though we have the world-class speed, we got Waddle, we got Hill, we got Tua, we got the defense. Is it going to be able to hold up? Because you're only as strong as your weakest link.
That's a really difficult question, and one we'll obviously delve into over a lot more over the few weeks. But if you're answering that now, I want to say yes, because the line held up just about enough last season when there was playing guy like Lester Cotton, and that's a real NFL player. No disrespect to him, but you know, no one he was on no one's 53-man final roster come August, September. Just not at all. I do think the Dolphins had a lot of bad luck in terms of injuries. Some might say, well, when you're relying on injury-prone players, then it's not really bad luck. You get what you're given essentially. But I think this line will be able to hold up. We saw with the comeback wins against Buffalo, against the Ravens, and essentially across the season that be it 1st and 10 or 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 20, they were dropping back. Two was letting it go 40, 50 yards downfield. A lot of it does come down to you kind of have the speed in Waddle and Hill that you don't need to block for like 7 seconds for these guys to get 30 yards downfield. But no, I think this line will hold up. I still don't think the line is good enough by my standards. But again, Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel told you before the draft that they believe in friend of the podcast, Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg. Until they come out and say we don't believe in them, then we kind of don't have much choice. And as Robert said, in McDaniel we trust, in Fangio we trust, in Touche we trust. He didn't finish it because he meant to say in Simmons we trust, but it's all good.
I'm not sure that they could trust in Simmons because when it came to giveaways, you're like 0 for 3, champ.
0 for 2.
I said like 0 for 3, so
But like 0 for 3 is worse than my actual score, which is 0 for 2.
But I think everyone feels like it's 0 for 3 because it feels like it was 3 times, even though it might have only been 2. Because I kind of feel like it was 3 times. That's why I said like.
We do a facts over here, but it's all good. It's all good. Righty Marv says, I don't know, Charlie. They picked up some UDAs that might surprise you. What do you make of? Again, we won't know until we do, start training camp, all that kind of stuff. But any UDAs which you've been able to scout so far, or you kind of waiting over the next few weeks and stuff?
As far as the O-line, we'll what's the word we should say? Kind of got a new friend of the podcast, kind of. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about that in the near future. So as far as O-line, maybe. But again, I'm always go back to Chris Brooks when we're talking about UDFAs. And Chris Brooks is the running back, 6'2", 230 from BYU. And since we're talking about the Dolphins being 3rd worst in the league in pass block win rate, let's talk about the Dolphins being 3rd in the league in power rush situations last season. So remember those times when we're like, yo, McDaniel, you need to run the ball a little bit more. And then 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Well, Chris Brooks, 6'2", 230, can change a lot of things if that O-line holds up. So power rush situations, I know someone mentioned Dalvin Cook in the comments. I don't know if there's any new info on Dalvin, but there is the idea that I forgot what's Quincy Queasy, what's the dog name from the GM from Minnesota?
I would double check.
Queasy something. It's anyway, the GM from Minnesota.
Crazy Adolfo Mensa.
Say it again.
Crazy Adolfo Mensa.
Quasi
And I probably butchered his name.
Mensa.
But yeah.
So he's the GM in Minnesota, and word on the street is they want to do right by Dalvin Cook. Can anyone tell us the last time you heard that phrase, we want to do right by this player? Might have been with Devontae Parker. Oh, go ahead, Kadeem, my bad.
Was it not Cedric Wilson? The Dolphins want to do right by Cedric Wilson.
That was the last time we heard it, was Cedric Wilson. So the Dolphins said they wanted to do right by Devontae Parker. They traded Devontae Parker to the team of his choice. Like, yo, you are a Miami Dolphin. We drafted you here. You're a quality guy. It's just time to move on. And where would you like to go? We're going to send you there. And they did it right by Devontae Parker and sent him to the Patriots. That's where he wanted to go. The Dolphins did right by Mike Gesicki and franchise tagged him, didn't put him in a tough situation. And like, yo, it's time for you to test the market. We love you here, but it's not going to work out. Go ahead, do your thing. Spread your wings and fly. And now they're talking about doing right by Cedric Wilson Jr. Like Cedric Wilson, this is from Chris Greer's mouth. It's a paraphrase. Cedric Wilson is a quality guy, good dude. We want to do right by the player. All right. So when you hear Minnesota saying they want to do right by Dalvin, that means they're not going to trade him to Houston. That means they're not going to send him to oblivion and just get back a 5th-round pick for him so they could send him to the Cardinals, right? Like, yo, a team that's not competing this year. They want to do right by Dalvin Cook. And it is now more than ever that I'm warming up to this Dalvin Cook situation. But that's not this episode. You got anything to say about that, Kadeem, before we go into our power rankings?
Well, yeah, very quickly. I was looking at the Vikings wide receiver room. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's clearly wide receiver 1. They picked up Jordan Addison and in the first round, pick 23. That's not really stopping them from bringing in Cedric Wilson. Now, Cedric Wilson might turn around and say, well, I don't really want to go to the Vikings and be wide receiver 3 because I essentially done that last year behind Waddle and Hill. I think it's quite different because, well, Waddle and Hill are Waddle and Hill. And yes, Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson, but Jordan Addison is still a rookie. And Cedric Wilson will probably start the season as wide receiver 2 before, his snaps diminish.
I ain't gonna lie, KJ Osborne pretty good.
Yeah, I was looking, but it's like Osborne being pretty good shouldn't really, as we always say, don't let a good player stop you from getting a great player. And I'm no way saying that Cedric Wilson is a great player, but the Vikings might look at it and say, you know what, we can still have some more wide receiver depth. But they did also pick up TJ Hawkinson. So Wilson's probably looking at it saying Vikings isn't really where I want to go. I still believe Wilson will be traded, or I'm not a betting person, so don't believe me on this, but Wilson go in preseason if a player gets injured seems the most likely, because again, he can essentially go there, be wide receiver 1, and he gets to catch more passes as opposed to being wide receiver 3/4 in Minnesota and then still behind TJ Hawkinson as well. So who knows?
What is he here in Miami? Wide receiver what?
Oh, I was going to say 4 at the very minimum. He was like 5 or 6 last year. Obviously, it's Hill, Waddle, and Trent Sherfield. Blackton Barrett's probably overtaking him as well.
Oh, no. I don't know about that. Yeah, hey, listen, man. Yeah, I don't know. He's wide receiver 4 or 5 here in Miami. I ain't gonna lie to you. But it is interesting that you said Minnesota, because it's not. I don't know if he necessarily is involved in the Dalvin Cook trade. And me and you, we talk about Cook a little bit, and I'm like, yo, I'm kind of getting tired of the Cook talk. But when Adolfo Mensa said we want to do right by the player, that's a smoke signal. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, they sending out smoke signals that he's on the go, and we're gonna see what happens.
Before we delve into our next segment, we have someone speaking in the background telling me that I'm wrong. So I pronounced the guy's name incorrectly. What's the correct pronunciation, Hannah Montana?
Say it wrong first.
Well, you have to come and say this on mic. So I called him. Let's have a look. I had him down as Kwesi Adolfo Mensah, and I was told that was wrong.
What we got, Hannah Montana?
I'll say Kwesi.
Okay, Kwesi Adolfo Mensah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it is Kwesi Adolfo Mensah. Hey, Hannah Montana's like 2 for 2 today, Kadeem. Yo, hey Kadeem, yeah, I don't know, bro. Hey, you want to give her a Dolphin hat and maybe me and her could do the show?
His family's Ghanaian.
Is he family Ghanaian? He's born in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He says he born October 1981. Doesn't even give him his actual date. That's quite disrespectful.
You know what that means, Kadeem?
What's that?
He's younger. Oh, 81. I'm about to say he's younger than me. He's 2 years older than me. Like, bro, so you're telling me there's a chance?
He'd been what? That was her nose. He was San Francisco's 49ers. He worked under Jim Harbaugh and Trent Baalke from 2013. He has a bit more NFL experience than you, but who knows?
You're right. But the more I knock out these Touche's 24 and start telling people they should have drafted Jaron Hall when they picked him up in the 5th round, I think my track record is going to be like, yo, we need to get this dude in the building.
We'll see. Oh, that's interesting. But sorry, I say it's interesting. Essentially, Darius Slay talking about Tua.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been quote tweeted from Tilly. Shout out to Tilly. Darius Slay said, "I'll be hearing about Tua having this old soft touch that Cheetah always talking about. He said it feels just like a loaf of bread just falling in your hand. Is it like a loaf of bread falling in your hand, Smitty? Definitely. Apparently, he's got a pretty nice ball. We were down there playing against them in Miami with a joint practice. You can tell we got a nice arm. He expects you to be there to make a play. It's like a Drew Brees type of guy. He would dot some things up, and the timing was on point and everything. So I like Tua game.
Tua Ningamano Olipola Donnie Tagovailoa getting an endorsement by Darius Slay. That's cool. Real recognized, real game, recognized game, Kadeem. Let's get into these power rankings. You want to pull up one at a time? Is that, or can you pull them up both at the same time?
Both at the same time. They're going to be possible right now, but I can definitely do one at a time.
So we're going to pull up these power rankings. We talked about power rankings during the draft episode. We had a top 5, but me and Kadeem had to hash it out and pull up all 32 teams. And we're about to find out where the Dolphins pan out in not only in the division, but in the conference and in the NFL.
Before we put up our power rankings, do you want to do a live power rankings?
Like, how are we going to do a live power rankings?
I can show you. So, power rankings. And again, this is why this is going live. You can do
the live that we wasn't going to go because you thought we were just recording today?
I know you was. That's sorry. I was too busy typing. My typing was all
the live
typing.
So
this guy's amazing. So, and again, shout out to everyone in the comments. Leave a like. Say hi. The more the merrier. So, power rankings. A lot of people, you would have seen this list or this website online for ages. Everyone does the power rankings. It's an old one because it's got the old Washington logo on it, but we'll ignore that. So the 5 tiers, we have Super Bowl caliber, deep in the playoffs, playoff team, was it barely misses playoffs and number one draft pick. What team would you like to start off with?
So we'll just go. We'll just go select a team, and then we could put them in. We don't have to put them in order. So let's just land on the team, and we'll place that team somewhere.
I'd probably start with the Chiefs and say the Super Bowl caliber. I think it's. I can't imagine anyone disputing that.
I could go with Super Bowl caliber. Let's go Chiefs Super Bowl caliber. Let us know in the comments. You could just blurt out some team names. Let us know what category you think they should go in. Super Bowl caliber, deep in the playoffs, playoff team, barely missed the playoffs, or first round pick. So we got the Chiefs deep. We got the Chiefs Super Bowl caliber. Um, let's go with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are in the running for a first round pick.
I can't. This is
For
yeah,
first pick overall, yeah.
100%. Even with Kyler Murray, that team just looks like they have no sense of direction. I reckon Chris Kingsbury probably the first coach to be fired. I don't know when the bye week is, or the schedule comes out next week, Thursday.
I gotta cut you out, Kadeem. Cliff Kingsbury did get fired. They have a new coach over
Oh
there.
snap! Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Hey, Kadeem tardy for the party, boy. I like it. Hey, all right, Kadeem, it's cool. You know, you saved me, I saved you. It's all right, champ. And Kyler Murray is out for like half the season with this ACL. He still hasn't recovered yet.
Yeah, but I was saying even if he was fit, I just think they don't really move the needle. And it's funny that, like I said in the previous episode, the Cardinals all or nothing. If I didn't support the Dolphins, I would support the Cardinals. That all or nothing was amazing. To kind of see them go from what they were to what they are now is just
How can you not be a fan of Buda Baker?
100%, 100%.
All right, next team.
Let's go with the Eagles. Eagles. I think because of the NFC alone, it makes them deep in the playoffs. I don't think it's hard to argue that they're a Super Bowl caliber team, but again, I think that's more because of the NFC. And when they get to the playoffs, it really does come down to who's really going to challenge them and stop them from making it back-to-back playoff Super Bowl appearances. What do you think?
I think they're Super Bowl caliber because there isn't anybody in the NFC. So it's not like we could have two AFC teams in the Super Bowl. So I do think they are Super Bowl caliber team. This power ranking will have more than two Super Bowl caliber teams, but for sure, I think there's only one more other team in the NFC that's a Super Bowl caliber team. And we'll get there. Matter of fact, let's get to that team right now. San Fran. And I said they're a Super Bowl caliber team, and I said I think, but since we have the proper terminology of deep in the playoffs, they have quarterback roulette going on over there. I think deep in the playoffs for San Fran makes a lot of sense.
It sounds so superficial and so, well, of course, like, why wouldn't you say that? It really does depend on who the quarterback is. We haven't seen enough of Trey Lance, in my opinion, to really say he can lead them deep in the playoffs. They are a team which it feels that they go through two quarterbacks minimum every single season. Again, Jimmy G quite injury prone over the past few years. Trey Lance, unfortunately, his bad injury. I think right now we don't even know who the starter is going to be it Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. I think Brock Purdy is recovering from that shoulder surgery or the elbow surgery. But it would not surprise me if Trey Lance starts the season as the starter, but doesn't finish it, and Brock Purdy comes in to replace him. And then at that point, what do you do with Trey Lance? Because you spent a lot of capital in terms of draft picks to move up and go and get him, and he's being replaced by Mr. Irrelevant like 2 years later.
Literally Mr. Irrelevant. And they got Sam Darnold over there because Brock Purdy may not be ready. Let's go with another team, and let's go with Houston Texans. And I think they will be knocking on the door of that first pick overall. But guess what, Kadeem? I don't even think they have their first pick overall no more. They don't even have next year's first round pick because they traded up. Unless they had 2 first round picks of 2024, which I don't believe they did. So I think they traded away their first round pick to move up to get Will Anderson. They traded away a 1, a 2, and a 3. A 2 in the previous draft we just had, a 1 in the draft we just had, and a 3. Oh, they traded away 2 1s, a 2 and a 3. So yeah, so there's a 1 of next year. They don't have anymore. Do they have multiple 1s next year?
That's what I'm double checking. 2024. They have they have the Cardinals.
No, they traded it to the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's so confusing.
They traded their 1 to the Cardinals.
Why can't website just work? I just want to know what pick to have next year. That's not difficult, is it?
I don't even think it's that important. But they will be up there in the race for the first pick overall. If they even have it, that could be the Cardinals pick too. Matter of fact, the Cardinals might have a couple picks. They might have like 2 top 5 picks, the Cardinals next year.
So I've got the Cardinals having their own pick
Right.
and the Texans pick.
Right.
But then when I click on the Texans on this website, it says they got Brown and Texans. That makes no sense unless they swap first round. Do you know what? It doesn't matter. Either way, I think they've got at least 1 first round pick, and that could be from the Deshaun Watson trade.
Oh, right. So now it's a matter of did they trade the Browns first round pick or did they trade their own first round pick? Because if they traded their own, the Cardinals might have 2 top 5 picks next year. Doesn't matter. Let's put them in the first round pick tier.
It's funny though. I think they are in line, or they could potentially get that pick, but not because they're bad. If that makes sense, I just think it's a young team still trying to find itself.
I mean, if they're not good, Kadeem, that means they're bad, ain't it?
No, but like the Cardinals are a bad team, if that makes sense. Well, I think the Texans are an establishing team who might win 4 or 5 games, but not because like of the level of talent that makes sense. It's just they're still developing.
I feel you, but they're still in the top 5, so they need to go in that tier. How they got there doesn't matter, in my opinion. Let's go with you know what? I picked the last team. Go ahead, throw a team up there.
Shout out Robert and Hannah Montana in the comments. I just don't understand what's going on. It's just
It's my rightful place.
It's not your rightful place. I'm not arguing with you right now. The next team, let's go with I want to go with the Denver Broncos.
Let's go with the Broncos. What we got?
I think they barely missed the playoffs, but I would not be surprised if they get a top 10 pick as well. Like, I kind of feel like there needs to be a tier in between. Barely missed the playoffs on number 1 draft pick, if that makes sense. Because barely missed the playoffs.
100%. 100%.
Barely missed the playoffs could be like 8 and 9. I don't think the Broncos go 8 and 9. I could easily see the Broncos going like 3 and 14.
I feel there should be a tier between first pick overall and barely missed the playoffs. But they're closer to barely missed the playoffs than first pick overall.
Yeah. So ideally I have them like here, just on the cusp. But yeah, barely missed playoffs. That Broncos team, that Russell, listen, it's Russell Wilson. He could turn things around. But again, this team just doesn't look like it has that much talent. Russell Wilson looked so bad last year. And obviously new head coach, all that kind of stuff. But I just don't think they're not challenging anyone for that division anytime soon, in my opinion.
Let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, do we think the Cincinnati Bengals is a playoff team or a deep in the playoffs kind of team? Playoff, it says, my fault. Super Bowl caliber team or deep in the playoff team?
I think they're 100% a playoff caliber team. The AFC is so stacked that it sounds weird. I'll move them in a sec. It sounds weird, but anyone who gets bounced out of the first round of the playoffs in the AFC, I don't think it's embarrassing, if that makes sense, because of how strong the AFC is. it's not like before where the 7th team in the playoffs is going to be someone who snuck in. It's like, what you really doing here? You don't really deserve it. There's probably a legit chance where the wild card of the playoffs could be something like the Bills against Cincinnati, and either team loses. It's like, you know what? It's not embarrassing to lose to either one of those teams. So it sounds weird. I think anyone in the AFC, I think all AFC teams or the good ones are deep in the playoff teams. So I'll talk about deep in the playoffs at the bare minimum.
Can we move him from where you have him? Is that possible?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I just kind of put him there as a starter.
All right. I'm going to go with a Super Bowl caliber team. We don't have to move them from deep in the playoffs, but I do believe they're a Super Bowl caliber team because similar to what you just said, if a team in the AFC can lose in the first round, that same team could win the NFC championship. If the Bengals were in the NFC, they will go to the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs were in the NFC, they will go to the Super Bowl. If the Dolphins were in the NFC, they would go to the Super Bowl. Not trying to tip my power rankings, but yeah. So I'm gonna say the Bengals are a Super Bowl. You know what? Let's put them in Super Bowl caliber. I do believe they're a Super Bowl caliber team.
It's so weird how like the AFC is just so top heavy in terms of you make the playoffs and you literally go in again, like I said.
Oh no, I don't think it's top heavy. I think you said that wrong. Top heavy means there's only a couple teams that are in the conference. There's way more than just a couple teams.
So then wouldn't that make it top heavy?
Nah, top heavy means there's only like 3 teams, but they're really good. There's like 8 teams in the AFC. There's like 10 teams in the AFC.
That's why I thought it'd be so. I thought it'd be top heavy because there's more good teams than bad teams. So the top is heavier than the bottom.
I can understand that, but nah, I don't think that's how top heavy is used. But we from 2 different countries.
Let us know in the comments, because we've got a mixture of Americans, we've got a mixture of people from the UK. Whose definition of top heavy is correct, or are we both right? Because again, if you're in the US, you see it one way. If you're in the UK, you see it as another way. It's one of those things.
Your turn. Pick a team.
Stick in the AFC because I don't want to talk about NFC teams. I want to go to Ravens. Just handed Lamar Jackson a massive contract, brought in Odell Beckham. Did they pick up a wide receiver in the
Yeah, they pick up Zay Flowers.
Yeah, Zay Flowers as well. That video of him smoking never made it to air, which is really annoying. So yeah, I think they were deep in the. Again, I think they're a playoff team minimum. I think that division essentially between themselves and the Bengals. I think they're deep in the playoffs. I don't think they're quite Super Bowl caliber, and that's mostly because, let's be honest, we don't know what Lamar Jackson we're going to get next year in terms of health wise, and he's still not the most accurate quarterback. He can throw it deep, but you kind of need to hit your targets more often than not.
It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. Charlie Touche, Kadeem Simmons, always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. And I am not a believer of Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to get exposed. He has Rashad Bateman now. He has Odell Beckham Jr. He has Zay Flowers. And everybody's going to stack the box and say, I dare you to pass it on us. And he's going to be revealed of a $50 million a year quarterback that can't get it done. They're just a playoff team. They're not a deep in the playoff team.
Do you not think, even if he's not the best passer, his ability with his legs, and again, he picks up injuries and stuff like that, his injuries don't really come from him getting hit, and that two-way dynamic makes him, it gets harder to defend. So again, even if, I still think if they make the playoffs, I would not be surprised if they bounced out a Houston, a Cincinnati, a Buffalo. And then again, at that point, it's kind of like it's anyone's game what you get. if that makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's only so many teams that could go deep into the playoffs. And two, doesn't mean I didn't say he's a terrible quarterback. I just said he can't throw the ball like that. I'm just saying two things can be true at the same time. He's an excellent runner, but he's a terrible passer. Shout out to DB saying top heavy means only a few great teams at the top above everyone else. But then he said, then again, I'm from the US.
I think we probably have at least 3 AFC teams as Super Bowl caliber teams.
I think it's more than that, but
then again, it's like, well, if you correct me if I'm wrong, if you just said not all AFC teams can go deep in the playoffs, when they can't all be Super Bowl caliber teams. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. No, I was just saying, and I also said he's a good passer, but he's not a good. He's a good runner, but not a good passer. So I didn't say he's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying I don't think they're deep in the playoff team at all. I think they're a playoff team.
We'll chuck them in the playoff team for now. Let us know in the comments if you think they're deep in the playoff teams, or if
you know what, you could put them deep in the playoff team, because I had we disagreed against the Bengals, and I ain't gonna lie, the Bengals could be a deep in the playoff team, and I'll be happy with that too, because Bengals live and die by Burrow throwing up haymakers. Dog don't have no fear. Like, he just throws them up, like chuck them up. Let's go. But yeah, you can put them deep in the playoffs. It don't matter.
No, I'll keep it in the playoff team. I'm not gonna like me using that. Not that we have one, but me using that. No, I'm gonna put them here. I'm not like going to bat for the Ravens. I'm fine with them being a playoff team.
Same way I wouldn't bat for the Bengals. Let's go with the Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers. I think I think they're another team where they're kind of like in between, barely missed the playoffs and number 1 draft pick. I'd go barely missed the playoffs because I don't think they're really in contention for the number 1 draft pick. I also think that division's kind of trash. So it wouldn't surprise me if they won the division either. Like, just
so you think Bryce Young has a chance to come out and win more than 7 games right now, first quarter?
I think so, yeah.
I disagree. I think they're closer to first overall than closer to barely miss the playoffs. But you can go ahead and place them where you think they should be placed. Stay tuned. We're going to reveal our power rankings. I have my power rankings, all 32, and Kadeem has his power rankings, all 32. But we're going to go ahead and keep finishing this up. But you can place the Panthers where you think they need to go.
Well, I was going to say, if you're just looking at that division alone, the Bucs are starting what? Baker Mayfield. The Falcons are starting. Is it Desmond Ridder to start in?
Yeah.
And the Saints are starting. Is it Winston
Derek
again?
Derek
Carr. So yeah, I would not be surprised if the Panthers done a double over the Bucs and the Falcons, and then picked up 2 to 3 wins elsewhere. Like, it's again, that's, we say how strong the AFC East is. Is the NFC South the worst division in football? Have I lost Charlie? No, I lost Charlie. Shout out to who was it in the comments? I think it was Robert Ashton said, in Simmons broadband we hope. Dude, I'm the one with a good internet connection. As of right now anyway. So yeah, hopefully we get Charlie back soon. We won't touch this essentially until Charlie gets back. But I also know that, like myself and Charlie, we can be here for ages talking about different teams, and you kind of do want to know where the Dolphins. So we might skip through a few, so we can spend the most time on the Dolphins. Again, thanks to everyone for being here. If you haven't already, drop a like on the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And again, if you haven't already, comment at 10. So to comment at 10 likes. Can we get to 20 likes this stream? That would be absolutely amazing. And again, thanks to everyone who joined us for the live shows over the draft weekend, especially day 3 where we went for what 6.5 hours. Absolutely amazing. Had a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll continue to recap, break down the draft picks, the UDFAs, speak about who we think is going to make the roster, and all that kind of beautiful stuff. But yeah, as we wait for Charlie, again, let me know in the comments what you make of our ranking so far. So we are what 9 teams deep so far. We have 3 Super Bowl caliber teams in the Chiefs, Eagles, and the Bengals. Although the Bengals could also be in the deep in the playoffs category. We have the 49ers deep in the playoffs. We have the Ravens, a playoff team. The Broncos and the Panthers barely missing the playoffs. And then the number 1 draft pick could either go to the Cardinals or the Texans so far. Welcome back, Charlie Touche.
Bro, I think the NFC South is just terrible. So I think the Saints win that division, and everybody else is the Bucks, the Panthers, and Atlanta could be trying to get a first pick overall. But yeah, man, we could speed it up just a little bit. We got the Rams.
Again, I feel like the Rams. It really depends on what you get from Matthew Stafford this year. I would not be surprised if they're a playoff team. I would not be surprised if they're picking in the top 5. I guess that kind of means they barely missed the playoffs, but so much depends on the health of their quarterback. What about you?
I agree. Barely missed the playoffs.
Cool. So the Rams, I've lost the Rams, the old Rams as well, barely missing the playoffs. Green Bay, another team. Listen, if they're picking top 5, I'll not be surprised.
I think they're closer to the first pick overall than barely missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think because you're gonna have the Bears, you're gonna have the Lions, and I think the Bears and the Lions would be better than Green Bay. So off of that by itself, I think they're closer to a first pick overall than anything else. What you got about the Browns?
Browns, I think they barely missed the playoffs. Again, I think it's more one how strong the AFC is, also a fairly strong division as well. Don't believe in 4 whatsoever. And I would love for them to finish first overall, to be honest. So
I ain't gonna lie, bro. The Browns might be the most accurately placed team in this whole list by barely missing the playoffs, because they're going to be good enough to not get the first pick overall, but the AFC is too deep and they'll barely miss the playoffs. Who you want to go with next?
The Bucks, and I think they're a number 1 draft pick potential there.
Yeah, for sure. We agree. And honestly, I think we could put Atlanta down there too. Desmond Ridder, they're going to run the ball a lot. Bijan Robinson, yeah, it's not going to be enough to even whiff the playoffs.
Not at all. Washington as well, number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, number 1 draft pick. They're closer to the first overall, more than anything else. We can go with Minnesota.
Minnesota. I think they're a team who in the AFC they will be barely miss playoffs / number 1 draft pick. In the NFC, I think they're a playoff team minimum, because again that division is so weak.
Charlie and his bootleg Wi-Fi never fails. Listen, bro, we did a draft live for 7 hours and I did not get booted out. My Wi-Fi was in there. Earned another stripe on the Wi-Fi white belt. You know what I'm saying? The Wi-Fi white belt earned a stripe going 7 hours and didn't get kicked out once. And here we are, still acting up on the Wi-Fi. I got to get this fixed. I don't know what it is. I'll figure it out. But we can't be acting like this. Matter of fact, by the next live, I gotta have this thing fixed. Bootleg Wi-Fi. I feel you.
Yeah, Vikings. I have them as a playoff team.
All right, that's fine.
I just think in the NFC, you have to find 7 playoff teams.
Yeah.
Like the Vikings are one of those teams that like they'll get there, play either the Eagles or the 49ers and lose, and it's like, okay, cool, we go again. Like, we don't offer much.
I think we could put the Lions there too, because I think the Lions win that division in my honest opinion. So the Lions are a playoff team, but I don't think they go deep in the playoffs deep in the playoffs. And if we want to just sweep that whole division, what are we doing with the Bears now?
I think they're a playoff team. I think they're closer to barely missing the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, let's go argument's sake. Let's put them in barely miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Uh,
But switch to the AFC. Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they barely missed the playoffs. It's a tough division. And I also think they're too strong for the number 1 draft pick.
100%. They barely missed the playoffs, Steelers. That's another team that's probably accurately placed and barely missed the playoffs. And we go back to another AFC team with the Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. Is that going to be enough for Josh McDaniels to keep his job? I think they're closer to a first-round overall pick, the first pick overall, than they are barely missing the playoffs.
Yeah. And again, don't wish injury upon anyone, but we'll not be surprised if Jimmy G missed a few games. Yeah. Shout out to Tim. Tim Cabo says playoff, the more Lions to win the North. And I think he's talking about the Bears. Next up, let's go the Giants with Danny Dollars.
Danny Dollars, boy, he got a nickname now, boy. He went from Danny Dimes to Danny Nickels to Danny Dollars, but they missed the playoffs barely.
Yeah, same. Seahawks taking the NFC. I think they're a playoff team. I think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, they're a playoff team. I go with Seahawks being a playoff team. They draft really good. They have a cheat sheet in 2 shades 24. They'll make the playoffs. I like it. Let's go with the Cowboys. What the Cowboys doing? They gonna have to blow it up in D-Town?
I think they're a playoff team, but again, they're a playoff team who I would not be surprised they get bounced out in the first round. And then they really do have a what do we do with that situation?
Yeah, NFC is not that strong. They'll make the playoffs.
Yeah. And apologies, Tim. Tim was talking about the Vikings and not the
Bears. So we got it right. We had them both in the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
Let's go with the Patriots. You know what? No. Let's not. We'll say those for last since we ain't touch on any AFC East team. Let's go with the Jaguars.
I think they're a playoff team again.
You think so?
Yeah. I think I would not be shocked if they win that division. The Broncos, I think they'll win the division simply because of the division they're in. But I can't imagine them going deep in the playoffs unless Justin Herbert wants to have another one of those games. At which point, you never know.
We could put the Jaguars in the playoffs, and then since you just invoked the name Justin Herbert, what are the Chargers doing?
I think they're making the playoffs as well,
but not going deep in the playoffs.
No, not at all.
All right, let's put them in the playoffs. Woo! What we looking like?
We got the Colts, Saints, and Titans before we move to the AFC East.
Colts. Well, let's do the Saints because they're the only team that left in the NFC South. Yeah, they're. I think that's crazy because one of them teams have to make the playoffs. So I think they make the playoffs, but only because of their division.
Yeah, same.
That's crazy. This is one of those 7 and 10 teams is going to make the playoffs in the New Orleans Saints.
Absolutely mental. Titans. I think they missed the playoffs, you know.
I think the Titans are done. I think this is it for them. I think Tannehill and Will Levis are going to go have a quarterback battle, and I think they're going to be in the top 10 for close to first pick overall.
Yeah, I think they'll start Tannehill. Essentially, I think Will Levis will come in once we're at the playoff race, and it's like, okay, that's not me. And then I go to know what we have nothing to play for now, so let's see what we have in our quarterback. So I think they're a team that are barely missed the playoffs and number 1 draft pick. We'll chuck them in the number 1 draft pick because they'll be around the top 10. The Colts, I think they will. I think there's another team between barely missed the playoffs and number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, I think the I think the Jaguars would be the only team out of that division that makes the playoffs. So the Colts will barely miss the playoffs, although Richardson might do good with the head coach because the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts was the OC in Philly with Jalen Hurts, and we've seen what he did with Jalen Hurts. So we imagine he may be able to make Richardson look like a decent quarterback, although it'll fall short, and they'll miss the playoffs. Four AFC East teams left. We have gone through the entire power rankings, and we're in the toughest division of the toughest conference. And if I'm thinking about this, we probably should have just went division by division. But it's Go Time Dolphins. Let's start with Buffalo because I think Buffalo is probably unanimous. We got Buffalo
deep in the playoffs.
Funny because I got them deep in the playoffs too. I think Buffalo is no longer a Super Bowl caliber team. I think if you look at their last 5 games last year, they were barely hanging on by a thread. They had all the momentum in the world. DeMar Hamlin flatlined twice. The whole world was going for Buffalo. If your team didn't win, you didn't mind if Buffalo won, and they still couldn't get it done and almost lost to Skylar Thompson. Buffalo's window for the Super Bowl has closed. And I actually think the Dolphins win the division this year. What about the Patriots? Oh, my bad. Go. You want to say something about Buffalo?
Yeah, like not to talk down or belittle what happened to them last year as a team. Like the fact that they kept on going, like had to be, applauded, commended because they went through a lot. But again, not to take the mick or anything like that. If it was a movie, they win it all. They got like a movie. They got a movie script, but I also understand that probably just emotionally they were just drained. It's like, you know what? Like we're playing for one of our brothers, but that must take a lot out of you, like a lot.
I ain't gonna lie, Kadeem. I hope they won. So they could like, yo, y'all won. Y'all not gonna get it now because this is the Dolphins' time. Y'all had y'all window for the past 3 seasons and y'all didn't do nothing with it. Cool. Like I can never say that about the Jets. I can never say that about the Patriots. Or I wish they won and have a good movie, all the good stuff. Nah. But let's move on to the Patriots.
Barely missed the playoffs at best.
Barely missed the playoffs at best. Yeah, I just don't see Belichick even in the top 5 of the worst teams ever. I think his coaching is good enough to get him 6 wins at a minimum, and then they'll eke out a couple wins. They'll be a middle of the road team for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is a paper plane. Aaron Rodgers is officially a paper plane. And where do you think the paper planes will end up, Kadeem?
I genuinely don't know. Like I can see them barely missing the playoffs because they're still the paper planes. I can see them making the playoffs because they have Aaron Rodgers. Like I genuinely don't know. If they win the NFC, they make the playoffs.
So
in the AFC, I honestly have no idea.
You telling me if they made the playoffs, you think they'll have a better record than the Bills?
No.
So you think so? So hold on. So if the paper planes make the playoffs, and you don't think they'll have a better record than the Bills, you think they'll have a better record than the Dolphins?
No.
All right. So you don't. If the paper planes make the playoffs, and you don't think they'll have a better record than the Bills or the Dolphins, so now you're saying there's a chance 3 teams from the AFC East make the playoffs. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
I hear you, and I know you said you can see either way. But the paper planes ain't making the playoffs. And shout out to Sherrod Steve, just sent me a picture before this show went live and said it was a meme that said the Jets talking about if you weren't with us when we went 7-10, don't be with us when we go 8-9. And that's what the Jets are going to go 8-9, and they're barely going to miss the playoffs.
I saw that meme as well. Shout out to Casual Dog Fan. He said, just watched the game against the Packers and Rodgers wasn't that good. He didn't win that game for them.
No. The Packers didn't win that game. The Dolphins lost that game.
Yeah.
And that was the notorious phantom concussion game for Tua. So it was reported that he had a concussion. He didn't leave. He threw the pick. at the end. It was heartbreaking. It was Christmas Day, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Christmas Day. Man, we were about to say grace for dinner. I'm like, Lord, please let this person say grace faster so I could watch the end of this game. You know what I'm saying? I should have just said grace for the family so I could get back to the game. But Tua threw that pick. It was heartbreaking. Just don't make the playoffs, though.
Yeah. I think, I'm not going to ride or die on that hill. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they go either way. Wouldn't be surprised if the AFC East had 3 teams that make the playoffs. But again, it's one of those things where the AFC South potentially have to have a team in it. So by that reason alone, the Jets might miss, or the pay planes might miss out simply because, the Jags go in there. So.
I can die on the Jets don't make the playoffs hill. Like, I'm good with that. You know the fight song to the Miami Dolphins, Kadeem?
I know of it, but I don't know all the I don't know any of the words, but I know the Dolphins fight song.
I was gonna sing it, but my singing voice not there. Maybe I'll sing for it another day. So where are we putting the Dolphins? To remind everyone, the caliber is Super Bowl caliber. Are the Dolphins a Super Bowl caliber team, a deep in the playoff team, a playoff team, barely missed the playoffs kind of team, or closer to a first round pick overall? And we can scratch out close to first pick overall. First pick overall ain't happening. Barely missed the playoffs. Do we think this team's gonna go 9-8 or 10-7? Do we think this is the kind of team that we have again? And is our quarterback gonna get hurt and we barely make the playoffs or barely miss the playoffs? I think I could scratch that off personally. What about you, Kadeem?
Yeah, I've agreed with what you said so far. Even Mr. Negative over here, like normally I'd be like, the Dolphins, they'll find a way to beat the teams that they shouldn't beat and then find a way to lose the games that they shouldn't. I think we are past that. I will still get nervous heading into every single game, but the floor of this team, the bare minimum is playoffs. That's the absolute bare minimum.
We made it to the playoffs, and with that being said, Charlie Touche is going to tip his easy money pick of the offseason, and that's the Dolphins will make the playoffs. And I'm putting everything in the Dolphins making the playoffs. Like, yo, if the Dolphins don't make the playoffs, go time Dolphins, just know when y'all see me in London, it's because I don't have any money and I bet it all on the Dolphins making the playoffs. And then I had to move in with Kadeem Simmons and Hannah Montana, and she's gonna want to kick me out for like sleeping on the couch. Like, yo, you can't sleep on our couch no more. You feel me?
Is that okay, Hannah? When Charlie bets all his money on the Dolphins making the playoffs, loses all of his money, and has to live with us and sleep on our sofa. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
She said, yeah.
Hey, y'all see, we got a cosign. She's okay with it now until it's like, yo, I'm not okay with it no more. But, Kadeem, I think the Dolphins are better than a playoff team. What about you?
On paper, yes.
All right, so let's get your official answer. Are the Dolphins a playoff team, a deep in the playoff team, or a Super Bowl caliber team?
I think they're a deep in the playoffs team until they can show me that they have the ability to get deep in the playoffs to be a Super Bowl caliber team, if that makes sense.
All right. My official answer was already said in 2020 when we drafted Tua. I said the Dolphins will win a Super Bowl on Tua's rookie contract. And then I even put a year on it and said 2024. The Super Bowl is 2024, but there is still a 2024 season. The Dolphins are in their Super Bowl window, Kadeem, and the Dolphins are a Super Bowl caliber team, and I think they belong on the top shelf, homie.
So I think on paper, the Super Bowl caliber team. I can't disagree with you there.
What are we talking about then? What about all these other teams on paper? The season ain't played yet. I think that's what we're talking about.
Oh, of course, yeah. But if you look at the teams who are currently in the Super Bowl caliber list and the deep in the playoff list, those 5 teams, not including the Dolphins, have done each of that in the past 2 years. Past 2 to 3 years. The Dolphins have made the playoffs, and that's it. So I have no issue having the Bengals as a Super Bowl caliber team because that team, that roster have shown they can reach Super Bowl. Same way with the Chiefs, same way with the Eagles. the Bills aren't a Super Bowl caliber team because they showed they haven't been able to get to the final game. I think the Dolphins on paper are a Super Bowl caliber team, but I personally believe they are a deep in the playoff team right now. And that's what I think they'll do this year, if that makes sense.
All right. It's on the record. Kadeem says the Dolphins are a deep in the playoff team. And Charlie Touche says the Dolphins are a Super Bowl caliber team. We're about to get into bonus time and show everyone our power ranking list. Individual, we have a graphic, Touche's power ranking. Kadeem has his Kadeem Simmons power ranking. Come on over to bonus time with us. We appreciate everybody rocking with us in the live. Y'all turned on notifications, seeing we went live, and y'all came and rock with us, and we rock with y'all. Y'all know what time it is. Stay positive. Test negative. For Kadeem Simmons, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time. Already.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time.
Yo, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Someone stole our voice of the podcast.
Huh?
Jordane's on another podcast. She's like the production manager for a UK basketball podcast.
No.
Yeah.
Dang, she padded her resume and jumped ship.
Yeah, she so her boyfriend Shaq has a basketball podcast called Courtside Fracas.
Yeah.
And like they do videos and stuff like that. So her job is to sit there and when someone's talking, press the button so that the camera's on them and do that. And she done it once, done a really good job.
Yeah.
They got someone else in, done a really bad job. So they was like, you got to bring Jordane back. So that's what she does now.
Oh, we'll get it. We're gonna have to get Jordan on the show and be like, "What's going on here? You're cheating on us with another podcast." Hey, bring up your power rankings, Kadeem.
Okay, cool. And funny, in the background, I've got Hannah Montana saying, "Does that mean we need a new voice of the podcast?" Trying to just jump ship and get in the way.
I can't say nothing about that because he said I can sleep on the couch if I bet all my money on the Dolphins and lose. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm cool with Hannah Montana.
Okay, let me. As you curry favor with Harry Montana, I said Hannah Montana, did not say Harry. I will get my power rankings. Kadeem Simmons. Shout out to Lon Ray for the graphics.
Lon Ray in the building.
Here are my power rankings from 1 to 32.
Let's see what we got here. Y'all help me digest Kadeem's 1 through 32 power rankings. So for everyone listening to the audio version, Kadeem has the Chiefs first, the Eagles second, the Bills third, the Dolphins fourth, and the Bengals fifth. That's his top five. Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Bengals is Kadeem's top five. Rounding out the top 10 are the Ravens, the Niners, the Chargers, the Cowboys, and the Jaguars. And I can tell you right now that me and Kadeem have one team different in our top 10s. Hold on, don't take it down. One team different in our top 10, yet we have the same top five, but different places. The same 5 teams in the top 5, but different places. And we have one team different in the top 10. My top 10 does not have.
Don't spoil it. We'll get to it in a sec.
All right, so Kadeem's bottom 5 though. Let's talk about Kadeem's bottom 5. He has the Raiders at 28, the Falcons at 29, the Commanders at 30, the Texans at 31. The same Texans team that he said, "Oh, they're going to be real good. They're just a young team, and they're 31st. They're trash." And then he has the Cardinals at 32nd overall. So I'm just saying.
Right. Very quickly, using the Lions as the perfect example, the Lions lost a lot of games, but they weren't trash.
that's that's cool. But
So-
they weren't a bad team though. The key phrase was bad team. The Texans cannot be the second pick overall and not be a bad team. You're a bad team if you're picking second overall.
I disagree.
All right, let's go to my power rankings.
And again, very quickly, the 2019 Dolphins, everyone thought they had the number 1 pick locked down, and they managed to get 5 wins. They weren't a bad team, but
we were a bad team. We were a bad team that overperformed.
So why can't the Texans do it? Listen, all I'm saying is the Texans, I think they will lose a lot of games, but not because they are bad, if that makes sense.
I disagree. I think they're a bad team. Just like we said the 2019 Dolphins, I think the 2019 Dolphins were a bad team that won more games than they were supposed to. That's all I'm saying. They never died. They never quit. They were still bad, though.
Yeah.
All right. Charlie Touche's rankings. Let us know what y'all think about Kadeem Simmons' rankings in the comments.
Well, Rob Ashton says Bills above the Fins. I'm having a stroke.
That's wild. Yeah, I don't know about Kadeem. You know, just for the audio listeners, we'll repeat it. His top five is the Chiefs, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Bengals. But yet he said the Bengals were a Super Bowl caliber team and the Dolphins were deep in the playoff team. What's going on with my co-host, bro? I don't understand your logic.
So let's try this again. In the past 3 years, have the Bengals made the Super Bowl?
That's not what you said. They were a Super Bowl caliber team, though.
So I'll ask the question again.
Yes, they did, Kadeem.
So that's what I'm saying. Because they've made a Super Bowl, I still think they're in a Super Bowl window and a Super Bowl caliber team. The Dolphins haven't made a Super Bowl, so on paper they might be a Super Bowl caliber team, but I think that they're going to just go deep in the playoffs.
But you're projecting. We have to project this season coming up. This is the same thing with your quarterback rankings, bro. The season coming up, are the Bengals a Super Bowl caliber team?
In my opinion, yes.
All right. So why are they ranked lower than the Dolphins on your power rankings?
Because they've reached the Super Bowl in the past 3 years.
All right, let's go to my power rankings. I can't do this. Let's go to my power rankings.
Again, this is why I don't like doing tiered lists, because people don't like my logic, and it's my logic. You don't have to like it. It's my logic.
You're right, but that makes good content because it doesn't make sense. And then you have someone
it does make
rational.
Sense.
You got someone rational like myself that's going to tell you, yo, that don't make no sense.
No, it does make sense. You just don't agree with it.
Let's see Touche's list.
I'm getting up now. Again, just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense.
All right, I bet you the consensus agree with it not making sense, though.
I'm completely fine with that. The consensus can jump on the podcast and argue with me. I don't mind doing that.
All right, Touche's power rankings. We got who we got first. The Chiefs, number 1 for our audio listeners. The Chiefs are number 1. The Dolphins are number 2. Oh, this is a pretty good power ranking list. Who did this? The Dolphins are number 2. The Bengals are 3rd. The Eagles are 4th. And the Bills are 5th in my power rankings. Once again, we'll do the top 5. The Chiefs, Dolphins, Bengals, Eagles, Bills. Rounding out the top 10, we got 49ers at 6, the Chargers at 7, the Jets at 8, the Baltimore Ravens at 9, the Cowboys at 10. The bottom 5, it looks similar to Kadeem's. Raiders, Panthers, Falcons, Houston, and Cardinals. And I ain't gonna lie, there's some logic messed up here too, because I don't think the Jets are even making the playoffs.
You know what?
No, hold on.
I wasn't gonna pick up. I just sat there. I watched you read it out.
Hold on. There is logic there though. The logic to this, hear me out. The logic to this is they're a top 8 team, but they will not make the playoffs because their division is too tough. So they have to play the Bills and the Dolphins 4 times. So they're going to lose those games. And the power rankings, they are a strong team, but there's only 7 playoff spots, and they will not make the playoffs. That's how we got logic, Kadeem.
So your top 10 has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 AFC teams. Am I correct?
DB hit it. Logic would be the opposite of Kadeem. Shout out to the comment of the day. Go ahead, Kadeem.
All right, Chiefs, Dolphins, Bengals, Bills, Chargers, Jets, Ravens. That's 7, yeah?
Yeah, that's fine. 7 AFC, yeah. 7 AFC teams. Yeah.
And like I said, the AFC South has to have a team win the division, so automatically that makes the Jets probably just miss out on the playoffs. Still correct?
Yeah, that's fair. Whether they just miss or miss, it doesn't matter how bad they miss. They're not making the playoffs. Jets ain't making the playoffs.
No, but what I'm saying, but like,
hold on. Just because the Jets don't make the playoffs, don't make the Saints rank 20th, higher than everybody else in their division. The Saints on my list ranked 20th, higher than the Jets.
I didn't disagree with that. Also, like that's completely fine. I'm just saying because my whole thing with the paper planes is that I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs and that the AFC East have 3 teams come out and make the playoffs. That's all I said.
All right, I'm just saying they're justified being 8. I could say this online on air. I do think I have them too high. They're probably like 11th. You know what I'm saying? I'm comfortable with them at 8. I don't really care about it. They're not making the playoffs though. Paper planes is not it. But I don't think. Here's my thing. Here's the thing. I don't think the Ravens beat Aaron Rodgers because of Lamar Jackson, and then I don't think the Dallas Cowboys beat Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the Jaguars are mature enough to beat Aaron Rodgers. And every team that I could line up behind the paper planes on this list, as far as the Lions, Seahawks, and Minnesota, aren't good enough to beat the paper planes. So that's why I had them 8. But at the same time, they still don't make the playoffs because the division is too deep, in my opinion.
I genuinely hope you're right because it would be hilarious if the Jets went and got Aaron Rodgers and still miss out on the playoffs. And then Aaron Rodgers says, "Do you know what? I'm not staying here. I'm gone." And then it's like, well, hold on, dude. Like, you can't do that. That would be hilarious.
Robert, Charlie Touche is not, I repeat, is not buying into the Aaron Rodgers hype. And it's going to be a poop emoji show when they don't make the playoffs.
Hold on. Sorry. So you're not buying into the Aaron Rodgers hype?
I'm not.
So how did the paper planes make it 8th on your list? Because so very quickly, if they start Zach Wilson, where did the Zach Wilson-led Jets make it on this list?
They make it on the list because they can beat all the teams behind them. That doesn't mean I'm buying into the hype.
Even with Zach Wilson starting?
No. We're not talking about Zach Wilson. We're talking about the current team as it is.
So that's why I asked you, if you're not buying into the Aaron Rodgers hype, but Zach Wilson starts with this Jets team, where are they on your power rankings?
Why does it matter, Kadeem?
Because if Zach Wilson and the Jets aren't 8th on your list, then you're buying into Aaron Rodgers hype.
I'm not buying into the hype. I'm just acknowledging they're a better team with Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't mean I'm buying into the hype.
If they're not having that.
They're just a better team with Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't mean I'm buying into the hype.
Nah, I'm gonna defer to Robert Ashton on this one. I'm not buying into Aaron Rodgers hype. But again,
defer to Robert Ashton, and I'm deferring to DB with logic would be the opposite of Kadeem.
That's fine. You're there with your US mate. I'm there, my UK mate. I'm just saying that's how it is. The battle lines have been drawn. Listen, I don't know what else we got planned, but I want to say this now. If you enjoyed this level of debate and this level of discussion, wait until we do the quarterback power rankings. That is going to go off. That is going to be messy. That is going to be crazy. That is one episode you do not want to miss. Is that going to be a live episode?
Yeah, it's going to be live. It got to be live. And we're gonna like we did our power rankings in bonus time, which we should have did halfway through the episode, so I could just smoke you. But I got to go now, and I can't hang around and top up your list. But maybe in the first half of the next episode, we'll check out the power rankings again and try to make it make sense.
Let's see.